The role of the haka is to help the newcomers settle in during welcoming and to help them feel at home in Irene. It's also to look after your section in terms of admin and anything else that they might need, and finally to develop and improve Irene through your portfolios.
For me, the Housecom takes on a supportive role, meaning they support and improve the structures that not only the house has, but what the university wants students to experience by living in a residence.
The Haka acts as facilitator as well as coordinator for the Irenes. They have an important role in creating an environment so that Irenes can mold their life skills in general.
I'd say it basically comes down to being the first person that you contact when you want to know anything at all. So whether it is about res, whether it's about campus, whether it's about registration, it's the first person who's there.
The role of the House Committee is to manage Irene's background operations and to also create a good opportunity-driven environment for all the residents in Irene.
I would summarize the role of a Primaria in three parts. Firstly, the operational and day-to-day things that happen in Irene, but also in a wider community. And that's why the Prim sits on two external committees. One is the Cluster Prim Committee with the cluster conveners, and then also the Prim Committee, which consists of all the Prims from both Tygerberg and Stellenbosch campuses, which have weekly meetings. Second part is, for me, very important, to keep perspective and constantly an overview of the bigger picture. And this is to ensure that all the parts in Irene work together in order to support our collective vision. And the third part, with the support of the Vice Prim, is the House Committee team. Our dynamic, how we work together, and also how to develop both as a team and individually. My Prim mentor summarized the role of a Primaria in one sentence. As Prim, you are not the savior in situations, you are the link to find solutions.
Firstly, one of the components is safety, of course. That's the most obvious thing that you would think about. And that's the safety portfolio within Irene, talking about all the fire hazards, having escape routes, and all those technical things. But also you have to think of the bigger picture, so the safety of campus. And now I'm not saying you're going to walk around making sure everything's safe on campus, but all the vice prims of Stellenbosch get together on a bi-weekly basis, sometimes tri-weekly basis, and we talk about how we can implement better safety protocols, how we can just try and keep in touch with each other as a community, so that if something goes wrong here in Irene, we can always run to Sonop and say, listen, we need help, or whatever. So we think of the bigger picture in that sense. Then the second aspect is that, as a vice prim, I don't have a section. So to me, this year, personally, I really took my role as my prim Gita and my housecom were my section. Those were the people that I looked out for. Those are the people that I went to first if I needed something. Those are the people that I wanted to make sure were okay during everything. So that's not necessarily a role that's set in stone, but that for me was very personal, and that's what I wanted to take on. And then finally, just the cluster as a whole. So cluster is something that sometimes can get faded into the background, but this year we really tried as POPs, the vice prims and prims of the cluster, we really did try to meet on a weekly basis and just talk about what's going on in the cluster so that we're not so disconnected. So cluster is something that will be implemented in every single portfolio, but as a whole in general, just to keep everything connected and a network that's working together, the vice prim will just oversee that the cluster is staying in tune with one another.
One of the main lessons I've learned is to delegate and to trust that people have different talents and abilities, and that someone might have the ability to solve a problem better than I can.
To always have a plan and be really organized, but in the back of your mind know that that plan might not go accordingly, and that you can adapt as quickly as possible and problem solve to make sure that your end goal is still achieved.
Being part of the Housecom means being part of a team, and that means trusting your team members in their abilities to do things. I've learned that my way isn't the only right way, and the second lesson that I've learned is
always have a plan B. No matter what, no matter how well you think it's going to turn out, always be ready and always have a plan B.
There are endless opportunities for self-growth during the term of being a House Committee member. And a small handful of those learning experiences that I have experienced this year is having the incredible opportunity to work in a team of incredible diverse people, as well as having to think outside of the box during the strange COVID pandemic time that we find ourselves in, as well as other places of growth, such as how to become more and more selfless in the actions that I take.
It's important to trust your team members, just having faith and trusting in them, especially with welcoming. I needed to trust that everyone else was on board, and just supporting each other and always being there to anchor each other. And the third thing, the most important lesson I learned, is that everyone has their different opinions and their different views, but it's important for us to work together because someone else will see something that you haven't seen, and it's important to take that positively and utilize it in bettering your plan to make it the best that it can be, because you're not always right all the time.
The lessons I've learned starts at the very core of knowing yourself. It's accepting yourself and recognizing yourself and really knowing what your strengths are, but also knowing what your weaknesses are. So I learned in how a team can really work effectively with different strengths and different opinions, and then completing a task in that capacity that is more than expected from. So overall, I just learned how I can utilize my own strengths in a team environment.
The biggest lesson that I've learned in my Hardcore term is that no matter how strong you think you are, or how good you think you are at a certain skill, people around you will definitely always make you better. And that's what I really love about Irene, is that there's so many people to actually use as a soundboard and have help you out.
In my portfolios in particular, when I had to deal with parking and facilities, I had a lot of personal growth in terms of organizational skills, because there were so many things I was juggling. For example, with facilities, I had to constantly speak to all the other people outside of Irene who want to rent the rooms in the residence. And another way I grew, it was learning how to work in a team and communicate with others, because I had to do it a lot in the House Committee. I had to always talk to someone and discuss where my portfolio was going and discuss my plans, and also helping others with their portfolios and just carrying things through, having teamwork constantly.
Being a House Committee member will challenge you in many ways, but for me, it challenged my ability to communicate with and understand the people around me. I learned that in order to communicate better with other people, I need to actually understand myself better and understand the ways I communicate and interact better.
I have definitely gone through a lot of personal growth throughout my House Comm term. Organizational and time management skills are definitely on the top of that list. And another thing is I've learned to not take everything that people say personally. I have definitely learned to listen to people's opinions, unlearn my own opinion, relearn new opinions or old opinions, and just be open to what people are saying without taking it personally. So yeah.
In terms of personal growth, I've learned what my strengths are, how they're valuable, and also how I can use them in leadership. I've improved my public speaking skills, and I've learned to think on my feet a lot better. I've become a lot more confident in my leadership abilities, and I've also really improved my interpersonal relationship skills.
I've definitely experienced personal growth in my ability to speak in front of people and to feel comfortable speaking English, although it's not that good, in front of people. And then also my personal opinion about certain things have definitely also changed. I've learned to listen and to form my own opinion beyond my own background and my own upbringing.
To just be strong in who you are and realize that this experience that you're going through and leading in a residence with 320 people and a lot of things happen, and also be willing to learn. Being open-minded was something that I also gathered, and just being able to communicate better in terms of not always like thinking that they know what I'm saying and what I mean, and expressing myself in a way that I know I'll be heard and understood.
My mindset about certain topics completely changed as you are exposed to events and interactions with so many other students, and I learned a lot by just taking the time to listen and to hear what others had to say. More importantly, I'm able to take different opinions now and form my own around that. And that is very important to me because when you have a big responsibility, you have to take into account that a decision that you make doesn't just affect yourself, but a much larger group.
You're exposed to different people, not only in res, but also from other residences and PSOs, and you get to learn from their experiences and how they do things, which definitely broadens your mindset and opens you up to all kinds of new opinions, which can challenge you quite a bit.
I would motivate someone to stand for House Comm if you want to be part of a group, so group-based leadership. If you want to understand the university a little bit better, I think House Comm is a really special platform to really connect with people.
It also teaches you about parts of you that is special to you as an individual, that makes you unique. And it gives you a platform to use these skills that you have and to share them with the people around you.
It's a very difficult task, and you come across a lot of challenges, a lot of things that will change you and a lot of things that will change the way you're thinking. So if you want to evolve, if you want to better yourself, if you want to be a part of something bigger than yourself, then I'd really encourage you to apply. You lose nothing.
You may feel that you aren't really cut out for the job, but you will never know what you can do until you try and perhaps place more faith in your capabilities. And also realize that the role of a house committee member isn't something that you have to take on your own. You will be a part of a team filled with amazing, talented team members who are also driven and passionate to complete the goals that you as a team set for yourselves.
If you are doubting whether you should stand for this or not, I think that's already an indication that you should, because you're thinking about it.
And being a house committee member doesn't mean that you have to be an extrovert or that you have to be outspoken. What matters is that you are driven and willing to take on the responsibilities.
If you are willing to give a little bit of your time for res, to develop yourself, to challenge yourself, and to get out of your comfort zone, I promise you, this is not an opportunity that you want to miss.
If you're ready to learn more, do more, make your actions inspire others, and become comfortable being uncomfortable, why not stand for Haka?
Such a fulfilling experience. And overall, you get to have fun, you get to laugh, you get to see how hard work pays off, and you get to make amazing friends.
So I definitely recommend that you give it a go.
I want to motivate you to grab hold of this incredible opportunity that we have as students and as Irene's to develop yourself for your future. And if you're wondering where you can contribute, I think you should ask yourself, in what role do you see yourself developing? In what capacity do you see yourself learning from others? And what role and capacity do you want to serve, Irene?